Hey, it's Raegan Thorp here with the Raegan Thorp Real Estate Group, and I'm really excited about this episode because we're going to talk about recapping 2023 and 2024, but also predictions for 2025, okay? And I follow a real estate coach called Brian Buffini, and he also does an interview with Dr. Yoon, who advises for the National Association of Realtors. So that's where this information is going to be coming from. In looking back at 23 and 24, the consensus of the transactions that have been happening is the older and richer buyers have been buying, and the younger buyers have been waiting longer or not buying at this point because of some difficulties. Some of those difficulties for first-time home buyers and younger buyers are, investment companies who are buying up single-family homes only to rent them, the increase in the rental price, the shortage of inventory, the lack of building that is happening, the increase in the interest rate, the difficulty of coming up with a down payment. These are things that we need to focus on in 2025 in order to make it easier for the first-time home buyer or the younger buyer to be able to get in on owning a home and gaining equity through real estate. Some of the stats that we learned over the last year is that 26% of all buyers were cash. So, older and richer who are buying these properties. The other interesting stat that went up is 17% of buyers purchased a multi-generational home. So people are coming together to buy a home together and make that real estate purchase. Another interesting fact that we learned this year is in 2024, 24% were first-time home buyers. Now that is usually a third of the market, or 33%. So that has gone down pretty dramatically as compared to previous years. Currently, the median time frame owners are owning their home is 10 years. Previously, that was 5 to 6 years. So over the last few years, people are holding on to their home longer rather than selling at the 5 to 6 year mark. They're holding on to the home longer. And that's probably due to COVID, the increase in interest rates, the lack of supply, and those other things that we mentioned. Here's an interesting fact for you. FSBOs, or for sale by owners, that over the last year was 6% of the market that decided to list and sell their home on their own. With all the technology that we have now, with all the lawsuits and everything that's going on, you would think that more people would have tried to sell on their own. It's usually 12 to 17% that try to sell on their own on an average year, but last year it was 6%. So that's gone down dramatically. Okay, so now the stats from Dr. Yoon with the National Association of Realtors. There's a lot of information, so I might be looking to the side a little bit, but I want to make sure that you have all the information. Dr. Yoon has some positive predictions, all positive actually, I think. He is saying that we will not see an economic recession. We are definitely seeing job growth. There is a decrease in the mortgage rate, which is good. More inventory is coming on the market. These are all good things that are happening in 2025. The mortgage rates last year this time were at 8%. Right now, we are just below 7%. Dr. Yoon is estimating that over the next year, we're going to level out and stabilize at 6%. So that is a good thing that it's going to come down a little bit, but we're probably not going to see that 2 and 3% because that was a COVID and a dramatic situation that hopefully will not happen again. So he is thinking that things will stabilize at 6% as far as the interest rates go. In a healthy and balanced market, there is usually 6 million homes sold throughout the United States. This past year in 2023, there were 4.1 million sales, and 2024 is projected to be the same. So that's definitely on the lower end, but we're trying to get closer to that balanced market. And Dr. Yoon believes that an 8 to 9% increase will happen this year, which will get us next year in 2025 closer to that 4.5 million home sales. So we noticed in 2024 that there was a shift in the market. Things started slowing down as far as buyer activity, but inventory started increasing. That means that we have more houses on the market for buyers to choose from. And some things that relate to that are the builder activity was able to catch up and make a little bit of headway so that buyers have more to choose from on the market. Regardless, sales are still happening, and the reason for that is there's marriages happening, there's divorces happening, people are having kids, a loved one might pass away, and an estate sale might come on the market. So these things are still happening, sales are still happening, but hopefully things will progress as the inventory increases over the next few months and the coming years. Okay, now we're gonna move on to Brian Buffini. He does predictions. He's done them for the last 17 years, and he's surprisingly very close to what actually does happen. So we're gonna compare those a little bit to Dr. Yoon's. Brian tends to be a little bit more aggressive, but not too different than Dr. Yoon. First off, he is estimating 9 to 10% increase in the sales across the United States. So he's thinking a little bit more than 4.5 million transactions over the next year. So we hope that that increases for everyone's sake. Next, we're going to talk about the interest rate. Brian thinks that the interest rates will vacillate between 5.8 and 6.2 over the next year. So you want to make sure that you get pre-approved so you're ready to buy a house and lock in that interest rate quickly. It's hard to get pre-approved, look at houses, decide on a house, and lock in an interest rate in one day. And the reason I say that is because interest rates fluctuate from day to day. So if it's at 5.8 and you're ready to pull the trigger because you've already been pre-qualified and you saw a house that you liked over the weekend, that's a lot easier to do because you definitely want that 5.8 rather than a 6.2 or higher. So Brian has estimated that those rates will fluctuate around that 6%, just like Dr. Yoon. Another stat that Brian brought up is that in the real estate industry, we're moving more towards teams. You might have heard this over the last 10 years that real estate agents are not staying solo, but they're actually creating teams so that each person on the team can focus on their strength and help you as the client in that area. And we can all work together on the team in order to take care of you the best way possible to help you make the most amount of money and in an efficient way. So you're gonna hear more about teams, real estate teams, instead of actually the single agent. Another interesting point that Brian brought up about real estate agents is 47% of agents that are associated with the National Association of Realtors sold 0 homes this year. So that is really scary because for me as a full-time agent, I'm selling 5 to 6 homes a month and I'm constantly talking to buyers and sellers. I know how they're communicating with each other, the things buyers are asking for, the things that sellers are accepting. And so I know day to day what's going on in the real estate market. If you are working with an agent who hasn't sold something in 12 months, they are totally unprepared for what's going on in the current market. So working with an agent that is in the top 20%, I'm actually in the top 5%, but you need to be working with an agent that is full-time, immersed in the real estate industry and knows what's going on. One other thing to mention, as Brian said, at this point, we have the most unskilled real estate agents in the market than we ever have, because for the last 11 to 14 years, we have had more of an easy market. You throw up a sign, you get 20 offers, let's make a decision and move on. There's not a lot of skill involved. There's not a lot of tracking of the market, the ups and downs. And right now things are staying on the market longer, and I'm advising my clients and educating them on what's going on currently and that that's okay, that we're going through that. Whereas an agent who doesn't have those skills is not able to put the client at ease and may not understand what's going on in the market. So really, it's important to have a skilled agent working on your behalf. And finally, the most important thing I think is a quote by Red Adair, and he says that if you think that it is expensive to hire a professional, try hiring an amateur. You're going to save money in the long run. I will help you save money where you need to save money, not spend it where you don't need to spend it, in the hopes of gaining you the most equity and on your bottom line by making the best decisions. So let me know how I can help. Don't give up. Younger buyers, save, 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 so we can help you buy and gain equity through real estate in the coming year. We're gonna make it happen, and we need to see those first-time buyers and younger buyers get back in on the market. Raegan Thorp Real Estate Group.